Some new details on the U.S. airstrikes on Syria. The guided missile destroyer USS Porter played a major role in launching that attack. Now a Russian warship in the eastern Mediterranean is heading toward the Porter and another Navy destroyer that launched those strikes. The developments raising serious questions about what comes next. A piece in the Washington Post reads, quote, "The biggest difference that Trump and his commanders confront now is the presence of Russian troops on the battlefield and Russian air defense systems that are capable of shooting down U.S. planes. Today, Russian troops are intermingled with Syrian forces, and any strike on a Syrian military target could also produce Russian military casualties." Mitchell Utterback is a retired U.S. Army Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel and a Colorado National Guardsman. Let's talk about this latest development, the Russian ship that is steaming toward the U.S. destroyers in the Mediterranean. Is that a threatening maneuver, or is it routine in circumstances like this?
John, I don't consider it a threatening maneuver. It's something that Russia has to do, and it's something that can make the international news like it's making today. But you can be assured, and we can all be assured, that we have the protection that our Navy needs out there in the Med. There is no threat to the U.S. from that Russian ship.
All right, what about the fact that Russian forces were known to be on the ground at this airfield? We're told that our Pentagon actually notified the Russians about an hour before the attack. Frankly, that surprises me, because the Russians could have then picked up the phone and called the Syrians, and they could have flown their planes out of there in that hour.
Well, John, we can probably assess that that's exactly what happened. The Russian advisors, the Russian chemical munitions experts, if that's what they were, certainly told their Syrian counterparts. But it's hard to find a Syrian jet pilot at 4 in the morning, and that's quite likely why most of those jets were destroyed on the ground. It is important that we did notify the Russians through the deconfliction line, because this isn't a direct kinetic strike against Putin's forces on the ground. It is quite literally, as we've been saying, enforcing that red line and departing from that policy of the previous administration's strategic patience. That's long since over. No better way to get that message across to the world than 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles instead of a speech.
Yeah. Is there any danger, do you think, of repercussions for the U.S. troops that are on the ground in Syria?
Well, just from open source news, we know that our U.S. troops are at a distance. They're in other parts of the country, and we're maintaining a significant separation from, obviously, Syrian and Russian forces. But our guys on the ground are following the news. They know what's going on, and I'm sure their force protection posture has increased as a result of the strike on the airfield.
You mentioned a strike on the airfield. There are 6 air bases that Bashar al-Assad controls. The U.S. could have gone a lot farther than it did. Do you suggest that this is roughly proportional? Is this about right in proportion compared to what Assad did in launching that chemical attack?
Well, that's the thing. WMD uses on your own civilians are out of proportion. You know, if we looked it up, there would probably be many more times people killed in the previous week by conventional munitions. But because of his violation of agreements that we and the international community had made with Russia and Syria, it was proportional, and we look for proportionality. But that doesn't mean that this can't happen again tonight. If he has other airfields, and I'm sure we're closely monitoring activity at those other airfields, so it's not beyond the pale that there'll be other strikes on other airfields to come if the indicators of other chemical munitions airstrikes are getting ready to take place.
We know that the Russians have sold and installed very sophisticated anti-aircraft weaponry on Syrian soil. How dangerous is that, in the event that some kind of a manned aircraft strike might be needed?
Well, fortunately, we don't need to do that, John. This isn't Operation El Dorado Canyon when President Reagan sent the F-111s over Libya. We don't have to send pilots or just send machines now. We have the ability to send drones, and those Tomahawk missiles do the job that a single precision-guided bomb delivered by an airplane would do. So we will continue to use unmanned systems to get the job done.
Lieutenant Colonel Mitch Utterback. Mitch, thanks very much.